Hello, so this will be part of my guides for the game in 2025. Now, this is getting closer to the full release of the game, so that's why I decided to do them right now. Now, as a note, this is not the best build, this is not the best build for everything, this is not kind of like the ultimate build. This is something you can obtain relatively easy, and you only need to play over 40 hours in a single save file. But that's also dependent on your luck, how well you play and how well you know the systems. I made a few mistakes, but I think most people should just go for Percy, and I don't know, most people don't like the endgame either way. So let me show you a little bit. But I do have to make separate videos for the clones, and their specialities and how strong they are, because some people think, well, the clones are all the same. Not really, they have more than just their special or unique perk. And I also have to make a video about the classes, so the clones and the classes, and then how you switch the classes, and then I have to make a video about upgrading your clone with the stats that you need to upgrade and what classes and what perks you can switch around, and then I'll have to make another video about the augments and the implants and all of that. It's actually going to be very, very complicated, and I'll make multiple videos. So yeah, what's the idea? Well, the bottom line is that no matter how well you upgrade the clone or how well you equip it, you're always going to be dependent on a few things like the class, the initial clone stats, and of course the augments. But the more augments you put, the better it will become. So this is more like a showcase, but also how the end game is. As you can see, I modified my tunnel rats. I kept the immune response because getting wounded is pretty bad. Reinforced ammo because shotguns are actually great at destroying walls, doors, and just a lot of other stuff, but they're not as good against enemies as they used to be. But if you can get your hands on flechette ammo, the shotgun becomes actually super strong. The only problem is you cannot really get your hands on flechette ammo until later into the game, and I think there was also explosive ammo, but again, that's a little harder and depends on other stuff. This is a fresh clone, by the way. I kind of died, and well, it was good that I did because I could get the full force of Percy then. And combat reflexes and then athletics, because we'll be running a lot, and also I was very undecisive on the last one over here, but I think Harden is the better choice, because no matter how well you play, you'll still get hit and you'll always have problems with this issue. So as you can see, it's all passive perks. Two of them are very defensive. These ones are aggressive, and these ones are just utility, dodge, and more items. And this is kind of like the best way to play the game in my opinion. But of course, this is not the strongest build because some characters have a lot more crit chance and have other stats that you can use to your advantage. But Percy is kind of like the best baseline character, and with Thunderhead's kind of like the baseline class. And after that, you can just build your characters the way you like, but I recommend you just have a fallback clone that is at least as strong as this. So let's look at its genome. Percy's genome, as you can see, I have 11 upgrades. Now you always have to upgrade your side range to 10 always, probably first of all. And then I switched out his talent because they're all kind of useless, to be honest, especially at this part of the game. Now in the beginning, you have a lot of advantages, but now we have no advantages, so I have to create all advantages. So weight affecting dodge definitely needed. And then I increased his accuracy a little bit. I don't remember what the base accuracy was for him. Let me look at the charts, if it says. I think the base accuracy for him is 35. And every point will put, every upgrade will put 3 more points. So that means I have 3 upgrades into accuracy. And his initial sight line is 8. So that means 2 points into the sight, 3 points into accuracy. This seems like, I think I might put another point over here, I'm not sure. And then it will all be dodge chance. Now, pain is not going to work. You might as well leave it like that. Percy has actually a very high pain threshold for the game in general. He also has a good starvation limit, 2100. Oh, actually it was nerfed. I remember it being 2300 at some point. So that's good enough. We'll not mess around with these 3 settings over here. So now, the damage is also pretty useless in my opinion. So now we'll just have to increase his dodge chance as much as we can. So every time Percy will die, he will actually become stronger. So that's kind of a bummer, but don't worry because you can use... I guess this is one of the problems of the game, right? That's why you need to stockpile a lot of books or stuff that increases their skills. So if I want to kind of reroll the clone or reclone the clone, I can just do that, and then I can just get all of his skills back to maximum using the, let's say, the management units and some other stuff. I think I can also use the jars of pills. Oh yeah, over here, the X-Chem bottle. Some other stuff, so that's how you're supposed to do it, but there is also another catch over here. So, beyond fixing the perfect class, I guess this is much easier to use because you get it from the beginning of the game and then you just upgrade it continuously, and same with Percy. You can just play all of the game like that. Now let's go into the more complicated things like augmentations and implants. So boy, this is going to take a little bit of time. So, let me see if I remove it. Yeah, it will show you what I put over here. So let's remove everything because it will be easier to explain this way. Okay, so these are kind of like the baseline implants I would recommend for making the ultimate character. First of all, the bionic head. Nothing beats one vision range and one weapon range. Yeah, the field of view will be a little worse, and you'll most likely will not ever want to fight enemies that have shock damage, but usually the shock damage is kind of weak, and if you have a lot of dodge, usually they don't do a lot of damage. Well, I guess I can show you some of the weapons. That's his weapon, by the way. Whenever you remove his arm, it will unequip your weapons, so be very, very careful with that little detail. Let me see where I have my shock weapons, because I'm... Okay, so this is it. So you have the shock gun, which can do 1 to 37 damage, and it fires 2 to 4. The Storm Piercer, which does technically a lot more damage, but as you can see, you are kind of restricted on the uses, so rate of fire will be 1 to 2. It can still one-shot you, Cell, and there's no way to go around this. You just need to have some shock resistance if you're up against these guys. This is an actual shock rifle. And then you also have a shock pistol over here from another faction. Which is kind of fun, kind of unfun. And then you also have the Thunderstorm, the shock discharger, which is kind of like a minigun if you want to look at it like that. So 8 shots with 1 to 74. So yikes. Don't think too much about that. So yeah, that's going to be a problem in the long run, but for now, let's go to the next upgrade. There are some upgrades that basically don't give you any penalties, so you might as well use them from the beginning. You also use some other stuff, but again, this is just for the endgame, so strictly, what you put in your head? Well, you put this thing over here, you have an increased addiction chance, but your crit chances, your Percy's baseline critical chance would be 5%. There are characters with 10 critical chance, there are characters with 15 critical chance, and from what I know, there is no way to increase the baseline critical chance of a clone unless you use a backup gun or implants, or the skills themselves. So that basically means you will have to work with whatever you have left. So technically, because your Percy doesn't have max crit chance, that makes him kind of like a worse choice for the endgame character build, but you don't really need crits anyway because you'll be working with upgraded weapons anyway. So consider that as well, because ultimate builds mean a lot of things, including upgraded armors and upgraded guns. So it doesn't matter what your crit chance is. Well, I guess it matters for some enemies or for the beginning of the game, or if you're using heavy ammo piercing, but don't worry, like I said, the game needs a lot more guides because it's hard to explain everything in a single video. So crit chance and crit damage, addiction chance will not be a problem, we'll see later. By the way, I noticed that the rubberized hands don't have any downsides to them, so you might as well install them. Just extra crit chance. This will be a bit of a discussion. Now, as a general rule, from what I remember, I didn't play too much with all of the implants because it's hard. You will need to repair your cybernetic body parts, so you cannot heal them with rags anymore. I think you need to patch them up with other stuff. So that's why it says over here, stabilizes the wound. But it doesn't show this over here. I think plastic will also work, maybe, depends, I guess. So when you become more cyborg, when you become more machine than man, you have to take into consideration that you might need other stuff to repair your character. So that can be a huge problem. So this is why this doesn't really work unless you have a lot of dodge. Because if you're going to get hit a lot, it's not really a good idea to have a lot of cybernetics, just a few. Rubberized leg. by the rubberized leg, as you can see, it increases your wounding chance by 20%, but as you remember from the class, well, I guess I have to show this to kind of bring in the point. That's why I kept the immune response. Oh man, it's so much inventory management. So basically, I keep this perk as well to kind of offset the debuff, the huge debuff you get from the rubberized leg. But why the rubberized leg, you might ask? Well, it will give you 4 action points instead of 3. So that means 4 action points. You also get a 10% accuracy bonus, which is kind of nice because that plays along with your range, so more range and more accuracy so far. Now what? Well, now I prefer the military controller, which is a bionic chest, crit chance, ranged accuracy, but also it will make your weight, it will make items weigh more. So basically you get 20% to your current load weight. It will be kind of annoying because you'll be losing a lot of dodge. Let me see how that works. 29, 27. It will be more. You lose about 5% dodge with all of your gear equipped. But it's definitely worth it. Bionic lungs. Now, is this worth using because you gain less calories, but you actually spend a lot less calories? To be honest, yes. Because if you're not using, let's say, Percy, or you're using a character with a lot less calorie capacity, let me check. I can check that super quick. For example, Kenzie Yuki has only 1600 calorie capacity, or at least that's what it says on the wiki. I think the real values have changed and it's hard to check all of this information in game. I think they should just add the codex for clone state, the clone stats, and some other stuff. So depending on what clone you have, you might have a lot less calorie capacity, so this will definitely be worth it, especially when you are going to fight 50 enemies. Besides, the problem with this will be that when you're fighting, let's say, 20 or 30 enemies, you might not have a chance to loot, or when you're fighting a defense mission or a control mission or such, yeah, it's kind of fun to use that. And over here, induction frame, so that means we'll be immune to shock status, which is the only thing that can kill us right now. Plus, it will kind of negate the big debuff we get to shock status, so we need to use it. We are less resistant to fire and beam, but that's something we can work out with our current armor set. And then the blood fluctuation. This also will nullify the debuffs from the... I forgot what it's called. Let's see what it's called. The cortex stimulator, because it will allow you to purge infections, toxins, and addictions. Now, addictions are basically to alcohol, to tobacco, to kvac, and to morphine. Infections, infections, toxins, I think they're just referring to the poison you can get. That's a 25 turn cooldown, so it's not going to be as easy to use as you think, because it's very good to destroy an addiction, but 25 turn cooldown means that addiction will kind of go pretty far, because 25 turns will give you a lot of debuff, so kind of need that to offset the other stuff. Now the knee is just for the dodge. As for the shoulder, I haven't found a good shoulder thingy. You can also use the ultra voice or the sonar, but again, there's no point. Enemies will be on the map and you'll also fight them very easily. You can also use the chest implant over here. That's the body, that's the chest. Which will reduce incoming pain and give you more max health, but as you can see, it will have other debuffs, which are going to be much harder to offset as well. You can also have this on the implant cooldown in case you're using a lot of implants. There's also something called the bio booster, which is kind of interesting because it gives you some poison resistance, but again, it just reduces your other resistance way too much, and there are a lot of implants, so that's why I said I'll make a separate video. You can also get this thing over here, reinforced epidermis, but the problem with this is that it will make you even weaker to shock. So just in the off case you forget that shock will kill you instantly, it's just better not to use them. Otherwise, you can just make a super strong robot that is only able to be killed by shock damage. But as you saw, even without all of these debuffs, shock damage can kill you pretty fast because of the huge dice roll it is. It's just a huge dice roll, basically. Now, I don't think... Let's try this. I don't think you can ruin... you have to destroy the rubberized leg to install this, because I don't think there is a phi part, but let's see. Yeah, as you can see, it takes out the entire leg. It would have been funny if you had a phi, but no. It's a bit creepy and sinister if you think about it, but you cannot cut down the leg to only put the running mode part in. And there are some other things like you reduce QuasiMorphosis and other stuff, but it's not really worth it. Anything that reduces dodge is not worth it. So this is kind of like Percy, the ultimate killer. Now, as for his equipment, well, in the current meta of the game, I recommend you have a big sniper rifle, which in my case is the Archbishop, and a shotgun, in which case is the Barracuda. Now, the Barracuda, to be honest, is not really the best, but it's kind of like the best you have. And because it has the collimator, that means it will do a lot more damage at higher distances as well. As for the armor set, well, it seems like I got lucky with the IBNC now, which has everything almost except shock and fire. I guess it depends on everyone what they want, but this is kind of like my character. 20% shock resistance is just enough to not get fried instantly, and the other, as you can see, the other ones are pretty good as well. You're most likely to encounter fire or other things, or entropy. So you will need more fire if you're fighting QuasiMorphs, especially the Death's clan. If you're fighting Dilty, then you need more shock. So you just have to change one or two aspects of your armors. Now, as for what armor to upgrade, well, that's actually kind of a hard thing to do, because one of the best candidates, to be honest, is the IBN Sina, the medical ceramite armor, because you just need to add 10 fire resist, and then you also need to add just 10 shock resist over here. So that means you only upgraded 10 times. Basically, this becomes a very, very good armor jack of all trades, and as you can see, it's not really worth reducing the weight, because the more you reduce it, it does make sense. The weight reduction should be buffed a little bit more, but I understand why they did it like this, because if you can make this armor weigh nothing at all, yeah, then basically you'll get the full dodge, and in which case you'll not need the perk anymore. So it's a big discussion, I don't know. Besides, this is only tech level 6, it's not even endgame armor, so there's no point in upgrading any armors that are not endgame tier yet. Because we'll never have enough chips, and you might be thinking, oh, it's just normal chips and that's it. Well, you might say that right now, but later into the game when you realize you need more than simple chips, that the game will become kind of annoying. So yeah, you really need a lot of chips, and chips are kind of like the premium currency of the game currently. And to do that, I need to align myself with the Unchained Pirates, because the Unchained Pirates are the only faction that has an interesting mechanic where at level 10, they basically give you all of the other chips from the other corporations. I think these are just the minor corporations. The Hexarchy will still have their own chips. For example, this is the Church of Revelation, I think. Yeah. So you can get more chips, and maybe you'll find something better with the Unchained, but that's so much into the game. Okay, let's just play a mission right now. I might fail the mission because my Percy is currently not the best. So let's do an easier one. Oh yeah, let's do a mission against Tianming with Mr. Percy. So I like to have a lot of extra ammo and grenades. You'll also need to have a lot of repair kits. Yeah, I'll speak about all of this in another video. So let's see what the stats look like in game and what we can do with it. Now, there are sniper builds, there are also energy weapon builds, there are a ton of builds for everything. What? What? Oh, we can just leave? Okay. What are the stats looking like? So, he has 36% dodge chance, which means normal enemies will not be able to hit us because they don't have a lot of accuracy. That means basically you're free. The only thing that can really hit you and they'll hit you hard will be the drones. The big robots, the ones that have our head. We cannot see because we have a helmet. Oh yeah. Doesn't have a robot head. I wonder why. So yeah, anyway. 49% basic accuracy, vision distance is 11. Crit chance is 19%. Though chance is 36%. By the way, I'm not using a backup pistol because, well, let's just say they're very, very weak at this stage of the game. I think I'll replace it with the other pistol, the Starlock or the Reaper. And then this will be 27% crit chance, but I don't know, that's also a kind of a big thing as well. Because that will reduce the range of the shotgun and it will also have a lot less durability. So I guess it depends, but I recommend use a backup gun in the first parts of the game. Look at that, 4 action points. And we just have to... Yeah, this would be kind of like the problem. Now this is the annoying part, the reloading. So no matter how hard you try, I don't think you'll be able to play the game without... Yeah, with just outraging them, you'll not be able to play the game without a proper second-hand weapon. Or just a big second-hand weapon. Oh, that's nice armor. And I found that the pistols don't give you enough damage to destroy stuff. Okay, as you can see, our calorie consumption is not that bad. We didn't waste too much. We need a lot of stuff to repair. Okay. Well, I guess I can do a little bit of looting, but sadly because of this, you cannot loot too much. So I guess at some point I'll just have to loot only the essentials like the ammo and just eat some food along the way. Oh, we're poisoned already. Wait, how do the implants work? I guess you have to be over here and look at this. So that's poisoning. Does it remove the poisoning? It makes a weird bubbling sound. Oh, that's horrible, hearing that coming from your own body. I'm just trying to build Percy back up. I don't think I will loot too much in this mission because I will want... Yeah, I don't actually think I'll finish the entire run right now. Because the whole point is to do show and tell. I think I need this, yeah, that's a good trading item. So as you can see, we just have to have these little breaks where you loot a little bit. And then we can just go into the action once again. Yeah, I'm actually super careful not to get overwhelmed by the powerful factions. That's kind of a dangerous weapon. Fracture. This changes completely the way the game is played. And I don't even have the full athletics perk, so that means basically when I'm running I have the same accuracy, almost the same accuracy as when I'm just in normal mode. That doesn't mean the game is too easy, to be honest, it just means we have more options. Okay, I think that's all of them. By the way, these are actually good trading items, military rations, so you might want to keep on to them. I also like to take the grenades, so mostly I'll be taking the grenades and some other stuff. I guess you can kind of get a backup gun, so your critical chance, this is 27. But as you can see, the chances of one-shotting people are sometimes very bad, I don't know why. I guess it's because of their extremely high armor and they're not easy to wound either. Also, sadly at this point of the game, you have to start hunting for cybernetic upgrades. Poison, oh no. Oh, that didn't work. How do you like that? Yes, as you can see, the enemies will throw a lot of stuff at you, so... Poisoning, I thought that... Oh, that's a wound, that's why I didn't cure it. Doesn't work with rags anymore. Doesn't work with plastic anymore. It works with that, so... This is why I keep saying you should be careful not to go full cyborg in the beginning of the game, because the wounds still have a chance to heal, or... And yeah, that will just make it super annoying, because you need to have a lot of stuff to stabilize the wounds with. So I think I'll just have to go for the controller bit. That increases the chance of healing, but I don't know. Again, that's still going to be a big discussion as well, so I'll just leave that for another video. So this is actually a lot harder to do when you're in QuasiMorph territory, because they don't drop anything, and I'm not sure if their materials will allow you to heal. This is very heavy, by the way, so I think we need another healing item. Does this work? I don't know, it might work. I have to do a separate video about some other things as well, so that's nothing over there. There's no reason for us to fight everything and everyone, so let's just leave. How is our weight management? Yeah. I cannot believe how easy it is to maintain the calories right now and some other stuff. Might be possible to... Now, these don't count as sealing a wound. Let's go to floor number 2. I'll only finish this floor and then I'll end the video. Again, if I was going to encounter some really big enemies over here, that would have been so bad. So I'm going to play this floor a little safer. Yeah, this is going to be a challenge for most people, because some levels don't allow you to have any benefits or any advantages. So as you can see, if I didn't have a sniper rifle over here, I would risk being tossed into the lava sometimes. Yeah, so it's still up to the player and the individual skill. Now, if someone would shotgun me over here, that's it. $1 million person would be dead forever. You can also... Well, I said I would do this as well. So at this point of the game, you should probably just have a bladed weapon at all times with you, so you can see what implants they have. And if they have an implant, you need to cut it off and then use it for purpose. Because right now, we don't need any more equipment like armor or weapons. We just need implants. These were a grave robber, technically. Well, can you be a grave robber if the bodies are not buried? That was a tactical mistake. Enjoy. Not all of them will be dead. Yeah, see, not all of them will be dead because their armor will also protect them. Oh, that's... Also, this will allow you to do a full reload and even have one more turn left to shoot. Or one more action point to shoot, which is kind of amazing and impressive. That's actually very impressive. I like that. So let's start chopping off people and their body parts. Disgusting. Oh, I got a rubberized hand. Thank you. The controller. I don't really see the point of this for an extra vest slot. What else do we have over here? Now it's very hard to see what is an augment, what is an upgrade. I guess it's easier to see the upgrades, but the augments are very tough to spot. Augments are just the body part itself, because they don't have a different texture or anything. You just have to kind of know. So let me see. Yeah, see, you just have to know that's a robotic part. And that's all of the improvements this guy had. Let's disassemble all of that. Question. Also need some extra food, so sadly this is kind of like the way the endgame is played right now. For better or worse. I guess I didn't get his thing. Kind of a slower game. You think you're done with looting? Nope, you're never done with looting. When you think looting is done, it comes back. You maniac. What happened? What did they destroy almost? I guess rusty metal. Rusty metal is enough, but what is the 25% chance to heal? That's actually better than normal. I guess it will not always work on the first attempt. Rusty metal seems like it's still pretty heavy, so I need to find something lighter that will heal me as well. So I guess, see, this is the problem. You will be gaining something, but you'll be losing something if you're just going to use robotic parts like this. 45. Yeah, this is actually a very good thing to lob pieces of enemies. Oh, so the pipes and these things will be kind of like the best choice to heal wounds. Can you patch up with the trash can? That would be hilarious. So the short pipe. Ah, okay. So I guess the better the quality of the thing, the better the chance of healing. So even though this is a much lighter component, the chances of you actually fixing something will be very, very small anyway. So I guess you just have to have armor plate and ceramic plate. Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. Oh, okay, so armor plate might have the biggest chance of just normal healing. Okay, lesson learned. Cannibal Cyborg Percy. I kind of like the concept, but I'm afraid of the implications. I guess about 30% dodge chances where we'll usually be. And I don't really need to eat that much. Actually, I don't need to eat almost at all. I can throw away my food and take more loot. And the stupid disc throwers are still stupid, as you'd expect. I like this so much. I'm kind of enjoying this monster Percy build, but as you can see, it comes with its own limitations. So yeah, this is what I wanted to showcase, Ultimate Percy build. This is what most people will strive to achieve, but again, you don't really need to upgrade his armor as well. If you're just going to go for a full dodge build like I'm going right now, the armor upgrades will not be necessary, and you can just upgrade this if you find it. Just make a full suit of upgraded armor. You need about 20 basic chips to get the stuff you need, and just wear this suit of armor at all times, and that will be enough. But again, it can kind of surprise you how strong some enemies will be sometimes as well. So you will get... let me do some quick math. So you'll get 40... 1666, so 77. So yeah, if you just do it like I showed you, you should have about 70% resistance on all accounts, which is huge in my opinion, because that will allow you to survive most damage anyway. But this is, again, this is already such a monumental task to get to this point with the classes and the other stuff. And when I reclone Percy, he'll also be much stronger and more dodgy. Anyway, thank you. Bye bye.